Hello, Charles Knapp, and another video from regarding The Secret, Byron Preiss. This one is a small portion of American Motor Gremlins, and it's also going to be married up a little bit with Warner von Brownie, which I didn't think was really part of St. Augustine, but it turns out there are some clues, and as you know, the fairies, they share the clues. So getting started, you look at the wording, and I marked it in red here, underlined, spell casting, enchanted, and then under habits, the gremlins of legend reputedly emptied love potions into many a cup, inspiring many a tragic love story. American Motor Gremlins apparently introduce a powerful elixir of passion, perhaps STP, into the baby bottles of all Americans. How else account for our all-consuming, fate-defying, heart-breaking relationship with that sleek-lined object of desire, the car? And so it's obvious that we're talking about a car. When you first buy it, you're in love with it. Everything's great. And then things start happening to it. And you can see some of those things here. It's caused by the gremlins. So what starts out as a love story ends up in tragedy as your car ends up, I don't know, in the dump or being crushed, or you sell it off to somebody else. It's a tragedy, right? So that's what's going on. That's the theme right here of this side, American Motors Gremlins. But equally important is you start looking at the clues on Warner von Brownie. Talks about fairies, and I've discussed the beekeeping part with the beehives and the hexagon shape, the polygon shape. And so this is connected to St. Augustine. And I'm going to show that also this is, well, I'm going to show the Cornwall, and you do the mythology or the fairy tales, and you plug in spellcasting, enchanted, love story. There is a famous, very, very important, in our case, Cornish fairy tale involving a love potion in the tragic romance of Tristan and Isolde. And it's a legend, blah, blah, blah. And so we're trying to figure out why is this even mentioned? Why would they mention it? Well, what happens is this love potion was meant for someone else, and what do you know? Lo and behold, the two people that drink it, they fall in love, but of course it ends in tragedy. So the gremlins were at work here. But there's more to this, and that's the interesting part of this, and that's why I'm breaking it down separate from other aspects. And the other part of this is the music part. If you're a musician, particularly classical or opera, you're probably well aware of this. And there's something called the Tristan chord, and it's a great significance, and it's been in many opera, and basically when you play this, when you hear it, you can hear the harmony at the beginning, and then it goes to dissonant. In other words, everything starts out fine and great, and then all of a sudden, oops, something's not right. Something's gone wrong. It's kind of like when you buy that new car, over time, oops, something's gone wrong. And that's the gremlins. But looking at this closer, it's really quite fascinating that this is linked to the puzzle, and I think it goes to the genius of Byron. And I can't explain this very well. I'm not a musician. So at the end of this, there's going to be about 4 or 5 minute video that explains it really well. And listening to it, once you listen to it and the explanation, it's like, wow, this is really amazing. So I'm going to move on right here, And this is going to be at the end. This Antonio, I'm going to slaughter the name, Papano, or anyway, he's from the Royal Opera. And at the end of this, there'll be a short 4 or 5 minute music video I'd like for you to hear. It's really awesome. Getting back to my part of this video, this is your car, and it took me a while to figure out, is this the front end or the back end? But if you look at a Gremlin, that's not the back end of the car. The back end goes up really rapidly here. And we've linked this to St. Augustine because we've got a moon, we've got teardrop shape, we've got raindrops, rain falls as part of St. Augustine, moonlight, a teardrop shape, grass. I mean, in each one, there's 3 of these Gremlins that are kind of an interest. And I'm going to cover that in a different video because I want to keep this short, and I wanted to emphasize the music part of this and how it's integrated. And that's, Byron does this. He takes cultural things and they're injected into the puzzle. They're part of the puzzles. And it's just really amazing. And of course, in the 40s, we had Gremlins that's when they first originated with the World War II and the RAF. And, well, something's wrong. It must be a gremlin that caused it or whatever. So that became a story. And from that story came these cartoons. This is a Russian cartoon. This is a book. And there's also one with Bugs Bunny. And you should be familiar with the William Shatner seeing the gremlin out on the wing. And the gremlins started tearing up planes, but in this book, they're tearing up a car. They're going at it. So I wanted to point that out. And then, so let me move on here and give me just a second to shift gears. I want to go to black, and then I'm going to play this last part. Explains it really well. See if we're working here. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, you've probably heard talk mentioned Tristan chord that Wagner didn't invent. Chopin used it, Beethoven used it, Bach used it, but it's what Wagner does with this chord. The chord itself is this, which, when you listen to it, creates, there's a certain, there's almost a letting out of air when that chord hits. There's the depression. But what's important about that chord, which, I mean, I can talk to you about French sixth and subdominant and dominant. None of that's, for tonight, none of that's relevant. What's important to know is that it's introduced by a figure that is, it's a big skip, which creates, it's so long and finally resolves to something that is ambiguous. It's not an arrival, it's something that makes you feel a little bit off balance. It then resolves to something equally hanging in the air. Now, what I mean by that is the melody in itself. An extra bit of melody comes in on the oboe, and that resolves. That resolves. But the chords underneath it depress and don't resolve and suggest the key, maybe that, but no. I'll play it again. This is also the importance of this chord, the silence after it, which seems an eternity. That's what I call modern music. In the silence are the secrets. The same pattern. He repeats this, and all of a sudden you have the same pattern, but he goes up to another key, implying another key. Again, silence. It's done a little bit shorter. And this time, instead of just going, it goes further. Syncopations, more pain. This time with an accent. He won't resolve this chord. He won't resolve it. Because he's... Wagner's genius is that he wants the music never to resolve. The love is never ending. The pain is never ending. There is no resolution. The only resolution comes at the very end of the opera, finally. And I'll play that. You hear finally the theme for the last time. Listen. That's 4.5 hours later. But it's true. That's the journey to that chord.
Okay, so what I intended to show there, hopefully, is how the music paralleled what happens with your new car, and how the music explained, and it explains the story of the Tristan and Isolde. You see how that all comes together, and I think it's just amazing the way that we have those kind of clues in this puzzle. So I'm going to end on that, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.